My name is Jason Castelli, and we have Ryan Cha joining us today. We're going to be talking about RSPs, TFSAs, and all those good registered accounts. There's really no way around it. We all have to pay taxes. It's part of reality. But there are ways that we can reduce our tax burden, and that's kind of the focus on today's presentation. We can reduce and sometimes delay the burden of tax, but ultimately we do have to pay it. Uh, the number of accounts that are designed to help Canadians save for the future, uh, how we use those is very important in terms of how we achieve our goals. And Ryan's going to talk specifically about how we use TFSAs, RSPs, and other accounts to achieve our financial goals. There's a lot of details in this session. So don't worry, you don't have to memorize everything. We will share the presentation afterwards. And of course, we encourage you to give us a call and discuss any ideas or any thoughts you have around your registered accounts and how we might make your registered account work for you. So with that, Ryan, if you can flip it to the disclaimer, the all-important compliance disclaimer that everybody likes to see. I'll let you read that for a sec and on to the next one. So why do registered accounts exist? Um, the registered accounts were initially launched in 1957 as a way for Canadians to save for retirement that didn't have an employee pension. Really, RSPs haven't changed in their function over the last 50 to 80 over the last 50 to 80 years. But there has been some nuances and changes to make them more attractive. The initial contribution to an RSP in 1957 was actually 10%. It's obviously grown considerably over the last few decades. Um, but the contributions, like today, were tax deductible, and you were able to grow your income tax deferred for a number of years, and then you were taxed on the withdrawal. Over the decades, we've seen a number of changes and broadening of the RSP and registered accounts. Spousal RSPs were introduced in the 1970s. RIFs were introduced also in the 1970s to allow the decumulation of RSP savings. We've seen higher increases to the contribution, carry forwards as well, introduction of home buyers plan, as well as new products such as the TFSA, which competes against the RSP. And Ryan's going to get all into that. But one of the key benefits of an RSP is that it's the cheapest and easiest way for you to create a trust-like structure with beneficiaries named to bypass the estate and probate process, which is a nice feature of these accounts. So with that, Ryan, maybe why don't we start with the newest lineup in the registered space, that being the TFSA, which was launched in 2009. Maybe can you tell us a little bit about how we can grow our money tax-free and have access to it really at any time?
Absolutely. Thanks, Jason. You're right. Can't get away from tax, but I think if the Conservatives did anything right, it was to implement this TFSA for us. So many of you are probably familiar with this already. Most of you probably have this. Here are some features here. $7,000 for this year. We always recommend trying to get your contributions done early in the year. If you have children, good place to start for them to invest. To open up a TFSA, you have to be 18. In some provinces, others 19, like BC. But you accumulate room when you turn 18, so that's nice. Some other things, that have come up over the years with TFSAs and just how to use them kind of optimally is one, when you need money at the end of the year. So say you have two buckets you want to choose from, TFSA or non-registered. We suggest that you take money from your TFSA first, if it's close to year end. Why? Because come January, you can recontribute the money you have in your non-registered account to your TFSA. And then the nice thing about that is you push your tax bill out to the following tax year. Versus, say you needed money this December, you would have to pay taxes on that the following April. So that's always nice. And this is kind of why we also called it or named this the TFSA, Ultimate Flexibility, because it really does offer you that. The other part here is how to get money inside the TFSA. And this may be more so maybe for the younger client or someone who can't put money in their TFSA and RSP at the same time. What we suggest is put money in your TFSA first. Say you have $5,000. You put that in your TFSA first in January. You wait the whole year. Hopefully that money grows. Maybe it grows to 5,500. And then this opens up options for you. So because of that flexibility, you can take out the $5,000 from your TFSA and then put it into your RSP. And then you get that nice tax deduction. You can keep the growth within the TFSA, or you can move that over to your RSP as well. And that kind of supercharges your RSP a little bit. And then I think the kicker here is really what you do with that tax savings on your tax return. Of course, being investment advisors, we say reinvest that into your accounts here. So again, kind of the same idea there. You can recontribute that tax refund to your TFSA or RSP and just grow those accounts quicker.
Ryan, is there a deduction on the TFSA, like an RSP? And if not, why not?
I wish there was. That would be very, very nice. They don't give you, the government doesn't give you a risk contribution receipt because they allow you to take the money out tax-free. So can't have your cake and eat it too, essentially.
When you're thinking about TFSAs and RSPs, is there a particular order when you think about contribution, or is that more specific to each client's specific situation?
Specific, to each client. Again, if someone has the means to fully max out their TFSA and RSP, great. I think where the strategy comes into play is if you don't have that amount to contribute fully. And then there's a little bit of ways to game and kind of, optimize your contributions. That would be the method that I just mentioned, is do the TFSA first and then opens up options for you.
So I guess it would kind of make sense to prioritize TFSA if you have some short-term financial goals, and then your longer-term goals, you're more focused on RSP.
Absolutely, yeah. If you're just kind of starting out on your investing journey, I think TFSA is the number one place to start. The only other place that I would think about saving first is if you're working and your employer offers any type of matching for your RSPs, pensions, anything like that. I would say take advantage of that first, or else you're just leaving money on the table.
Yeah, I always like that free money from the employer.
Yeah, take it when you can get it.
Yeah.
All right, so that's TFSA.
Yeah, so looking at, I guess we'll move next to the RSPs. It's kind of the workhorse of the Canadian retirement planning and retirement. Can you talk a little bit about the RSPs, how people are using it, how we're using it, how people should be using it?
Absolutely. You're right, Jason. It's the cornerstone of kind of Canadian retirement planning here. Here are the basics. Again, lots of you are probably familiar with this. Jason mentioned 10% when RSPs were introduced of your income. Now it's 18%. The maximum goes up every year. For 2026, it's $33,810. And if you're retired, you're probably thinking, what do I do with an RSP? Well, at 71, you have to convert to a RIF, and I'll go over that a little bit later. And there's some strategies around that as well. I think the RSPs offer the contribution receipt, but also, like Jason mentioned, that tax deferred growth that accumulates over your lifetime. I don't know when you first started working, Jason, but I got my first job at 15. Say retirement age 65, you got 50 years of compound growth there, tax deferred.
Yeah.
Again, anyone who has any RSP matching, please take care of that first. A question we get from our younger clients generally is, TFSA or RSP. I don't know which one to do. Again, I would kind of go back to my strategy on the TFSA, start with the TFSA first, and then take care of your RSP, right? Again, just giving you more options that way. I think that makes the most sense.
When you're thinking of, people early in their career, typically at a lower tax bracket, and then assuming they're going to be making more money in the future, is it more advantageous to be contributing to the RSP, like maxing it out early on, or waiting 10, 20 years and maxing it out later once you have that higher income?
Yeah, I think the first bucket to fill would be the TFSA, Jason. And if you're a very, very good saver or you're relatively high income for a younger person, definitely take advantage of those RSPs.
Can you have an RSP that's too large?
Sometimes, sometimes that happens, and it's a bit of a conundrum when it comes to financial planning and things like that. Um, you know, I think, and we'll get into this, but that tax bill when you pass away on your estate is quite large when you have a large RSP. So it can be pretty eye-watering on some certain financial projections I've done for clients. But can you ever have too much? Maybe.
Yeah.
If you have a $10 million RSP, when you're 72, you have to take out $500,000, right? So you're over and way over and above the top tax bracket.
Right. Yeah. So you lose your OAS and
That's right.
yeah, you get the clawbacks.
That's right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. The other part of the question that we get from clients on projections is, should I withdraw from my RSP sooner rather than later, right? Because you don't have to wait till you have a RIF when you're 72 to take out money. You can do that at 65, which also opens up some other pension income tax savings we'll go through later in the RIF section. But from the projections that I've done, generally the answer is to wait on the RSP contributions, but it's very situation dependent. Again, I think what is missed here because of that big tax bill is the tax deferred growth that happens over time. Also, this tax-free spousal rollover that happens. Unfortunately for me and you, Jason, statistically men pass away first. So that's important for our wives.
My wife's a couple years older than me, so we're gonna die right at the same time.
Wouldn't that? I guess it wouldn't be too bad, right? And then you guys aren't missing each other.
Okay, so RSPs. Maybe can you talk a little bit about some of the embedded options within RSP, the home buyers, and
yeah. So RSPs, lots of people think they're inflexible, and that's kind of generally true given they give you a contribution receipt for putting money in. They want their tax dollars back. But there's some options here to take out some money. The home buyers plan being something very, very popular with, of course, first-time home buyers. I think that's a big conversation, at least, where I live in Vancouver, right? The homes being expensive as they are. People are really looking for any kind of help getting that down payment. So the way it works is you can take out $60,000 from your RSP. You have to pay it back within 15 years, but you get 2 years before you have to make that first payment. And payment might be a bit of a confusing term, is because you recontribute to your RSP. It's just that you don't get a contribution receipt for that money you put back in. So I think Jason, you struggled with this.
Yeah, that was a surprise. Yeah, when I used that plan to buy my house, I was not aware of that, and I was looking forward to getting the nice tax deduction, and then realized the home buyers took away the contribution, and I was like, damn.
Yeah. No tax refund for you. Yeah, I think home buyers plan used to be $35,000, and then the government realized that's just not enough. I didn't even know if 60,000 is enough really in Vancouver, but the other option here for the RSP is a lifelong learning plan. Lots of people don't know about this this feature. You can withdraw up to $10,000 per year up to a maximum of 20 to attend higher education. So if you want to do your master's or something like that, and you don't want to take on loans, you can withdraw from your RSP. Same kind of idea there, but you have to pay that back within 10 years. So a little bit shorter than the home buyer's loan.
Okay.
All right.
All right. So we saved a bunch of money. Now it's time. We've made our retirement. How do we get the money out? And what are the kind of nuances around that?
Got it. So the RSP that we talked about earlier converts to a RIF. I think one of the largest points of confusion is, when do I have to do that and when does the money come out? The first payment or required minimum. So the year you turn 71 is when you have to convert your RSPs to a RIF. Generally, I mean, for us, we reach out to clients that year to get those accounts opened up, and your advisor should be doing the same thing. The difference, or the point that's missed here, is that the withdrawal doesn't have to come out that same year. It can come out the following year, the year you're turning 72. And the amount that you have to take out really varies because it's a percentage of your account based on the market value as of December 31st. If you're ever confused about that, just ask your advisor and they'll give you that minimum required withdrawal. You can withdraw over and above this amount, but of course, any withdrawals out of a RIF are taxable and considered regular income. Like I said, the government gave you the contribution receipt. They want their tax dollars back at this point. At 65 is also an important age, not just because it's regular retirement age, but there's pension splitting opportunities. So instead of taking money out of an RSP, Jason, you would take money out of a RIF because RIF income is considered pension income. So you're eligible to split that with your spouse. There's also the pension income amount of $2,000. The first $2,000 of pension income, tax-free. A LIF. A LIF is generally less popular. Maybe popular is not the right word, but LIFs come from locked-in retirement accounts. Where do locked-in retirement accounts come from? They come from employer pensions. So if you're lucky enough to have an employer pension and you left that workplace or retired, they'll give you an option. Continue with that pension or transfer the commuted value, the market value of your pension out to a locked-in account. The difference between a LIF and a RIF is that there's pension rules around a LIF. So there's a maximum that you can take out per year. And there's also, just like a RIF, a minimum that you have to take out. There are opportunities to unlock the LIF, so get these pension rules off of that money, but it really depends on province. From my experience, if the value of the account is less than $50,000, you're eligible to unlock. But again, some provinces have different rules, so it really depends on the pension legislation.
Okay.
Any question on that, Jason?
I'm good there. You covered everything.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. All right.
All right. So we're moving back a few generations. Maybe if you can talk a little bit about how parents and grandparents can help the next generation build equity in the very, very expensive Canadian housing market.
Absolutely. So if the Conservatives did something right with the TFSAs, the Liberals did something right with the First Home Savings Account, I think. Kind of the easiest way to think about this is it combines features of an RSP and a TFSA together. There are some differences here. There's a bit of a timeline on this. So 15 years from when the account is opened and you don't buy your first home or use that money to buy a first home, it has to be transferred over to your RSP. Again, the government gave you the contribution receipt. They need some way to get that money back from you. So that's the option that they give you. The lifetime limit is $40,000 with the annual limit being $8,000. The one thing that trips people up here that I've seen is, say you have a First Home Savings Account, you never contributed to it, it's been open for 3 years. You may think that you have $24,000 of contribution room. That's incorrect. You can only go back 1 year. So your true room is only $16,000. But that $40,000 lifetime limit is always there. You just takes you a little bit longer to get there. If the goal is to, if the absolute goal of your investing journey is to buy your first home, I would start with a combination of the first home savings and TFSA, perhaps using that TFSA strategy that I mentioned earlier to get to kind of supercharge that for you, and then start contributing to your RSP. Again, that's maybe for a specific person who knows, I want to buy a house. That's my goal. I know I want to get that done in the next 5-10 years or whatever it's going to be.
So I opened a first home savings plan for my children. I contribute the money to the plan. Do I get the deduction?
Unfortunately not. It'd be the account holder. So one of the features of the first home savings account is that contribution receipt, much like the RSP. So does it make sense for someone in, sorry to say this to you, Jason, college to put money into that and get the contribution receipt when their income is maybe nil or nothing or anything like that? Maybe not. But again, there's that deferred growth that comes from starting early, right? So you take away one benefit, but the other benefits are still valid there.
Okay, so my son's now 30 years old, saved a bunch of money. Can he use this plan to buy a cottage, a property down south?
I think it has to be a Canadian residence,
Canadian
and it has to be your primary residence. Can't be something that you rent out or anything like that.
Okay. Okay.
All right.
Sticking with the next generation. So we've covered helping our kids save for a home. What about education? What kind of plans are there available there?
Yeah, I think the main one there that people should be familiar with is the RESP. Kind of the only real place to start with education savings. You can see here the government starts to kick in some money, $7,200 in grants. The Canada Learning Bond there, I think that's an income tested feature. So if you're lower income, they kick in a little bit extra. In BC, there's a great $1,200 grant when your child turns 6, but you have to apply for that before the end of the year when they turn 9 years old. So there's a bit of a constraint there that you have to get in. So if your child's 10 and if you haven't been able to get that, I think they're out of luck, unfortunately. For us and any clients that have RESPs with us, we'll notify you once your child is eligible, which is after their 6th birthday, and we'll reach out to you to get that form signed. You do have to be a BC resident because it is for only BC residents. But if you haven't done that and your child is 6, 7, 8, yeah, definitely check in with your advisor on that.
If I've got $50,000 just sitting around, am I better off to contribute all of that to the RESP first, or do it over the life and get the grant?
Really depends, I think, Jason, and I think you can appreciate this. Some of that has to do with the investment return expectations. What are you going to be investing in? Some of that is, say you have that 50,000, what are you going to do? So say you only do $2,500 to maximize the grant for the year for $500. What are you doing with that 47,500? Are you investing that? If it's in a non-registered account, the after-tax result there is really important. So I think it really depends. I think if you have the money to do it, it probably does make sense, just compounding the growth. The other option that I've seen and employed is you kind of supersize the first year's contribution. So say you do 16,500, and then for the balance until that child turns 17, you're doing $2,500. So you get all the grants. You're building up the account initially by putting more in, and then I've seen that kind of work out well too. Again, depending on the math and rate of return and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
All right. there's a few things that I want to talk about on the RSPs that are not as well known. You don't have to be the parent to open up a RESP for someone. It could be your niece, nephew, grandchild. We if you were to do that, we just say exercise some caution. Just coordinating grants between different accounts. Like if the actual parents have RESPs as well, just trying to make sure you don't go over if the goal is to maximize those grants. Um, other clients and people that I've talked to weren't able to start when the child was born, so they're a little bit behind in terms of contributing. The good news is the government lets you catch up on grant room. So instead of doing $2,500, you can do $5,000 to catch up on the grants. But you can only get a maximum of $1,000 of grant from the government by catching up. So it takes a little bit of time to get you fully caught up, but it's not lost, is what I'm trying to get at. All right, any other questions that come to mind on this, Jason?
Um, I think for the interest of time, I think we better keep
Hold on.
plugging along.
Okay, sounds good.
So some families have unique challenges. What are the kind of plans that are set up to help families that have a loved one with a disability?
Yeah, so there's the one account that comes to mind immediately, and that's the RDSP. Um, for to be eligible to open this type of account, you have to be eligible for the disability tax credit. So if a family member or someone has not applied for that yet, that'd be the first step to get that done, and then you can start opening this account. The great news here is the government kicks in a lot of grants for this. Um, up to $3,500 per year. The lifetime limit for this is quite large as well, $200,000 you can put in this account. And the great news is, with that tax credit and being eligible for that, it doesn't reduce any other federal government benefits that are available to you. So it's kind of a no-brainer. If you can kick in any amount to this account, it just really starts to multiply. There's like a built-in return with this, with any account that you get grants from the government. If you need more information on this, I would say reach out to us because the paperwork is kind of heavy. And if you want to learn more about withdrawal strategies and all that, reach out to us or your advisor.
Sorry, I was just looking at one of the questions that came in. So we've maxed out our RSPs. We're doing really well. What are some other plans that we can kind of take a look at?
Yeah, I think if you're really looking for some tax sheltered options here, there's only really one that may make sense, and it's very specific for the type of person that it's suitable for. This is more RCAs and IPPs. RCAs are retirement compensation agreements. IPPs are individual pension plans. They both take actuaries to get set up. But it makes a lot of sense for business owners and very, very high income earners. Because for an IPP, any money that your employer, so if you're self-employed, your company kicks in, it's a deduction from their income. And you can go over and above your RSP. And then just depending on some of this actuary stuff, Jason, is very complicated, as you know, on these tables. So at the end, there's kind of big contribution room that could be built up for an individual and their company. So it can make a lot of sense when someone's 60, 65 is looking to shut down the company or sell it. There's this big deduction that can happen. Again, I think it's beyond the scope of this call, but something that may apply to some of the people on this call.
Perfect. Great. Well, I think you can all see there's really no single best strategy of how to use RSPs and TFSAs and all the registered accounts that are out there. It's really it's really the combination of all these accounts and how it fits within your goals, your income, and where you are in your life stage. The most effective strategies do also evolve over time. And small adjustments can have meaningful differences in tax outcomes. So we encourage you really to review what accounts you're using, either with us or outside us with us. Give us a call, consult with us, and figure out whether we need to make adjustments or if you're on plan to achieve your financial future. So thank you today for joining the call. I hope you got something out of it. We will share the presentation for all that attended. And there is a survey at the end if you could please fill that out. And with that, if there's any questions, which I do see some coming in right now, please go ahead and you can enter them in the Q&A box at the bottom of the Zoom presentation. The first one, and this is a back of envelope math that I did a couple days ago. So has to do with the RESP. If you were to contribute the $50,000 at day one versus taking the grant over the 18 years. If you were to do that, and if you had a 6% return over the 18-year period, if you contributed that $50,000 on day one, it would equal about $150,000 after 18 years, versus doing it year by year, getting the maximum grant, it would be approximately worth about $100,000. So pretty confident we can do 6% annual. If you have the money, funding it up front and foregoing the government grant seems to be a good way to go. Ryan, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, non-resident tax, as I understand it, is about 25% that you would have to withhold from an RSP withdrawal for a non-resident person. We can't give tax advice, but if you're in a country that has no income tax, you probably come out ahead versus being a tax resident of Canada, right? So say you have a huge RSP, like I mentioned, 10 million bucks, you have to take off 500,000, you're at the top rate, probably losing about half, versus a quarter if you're a non-resident.
Any kind of last words of wisdom on how to approach, I guess if you're starting out in life, how to approach your registered accounts, where to prioritize things, any kind of tricks of the trade that you suggest?
Yeah, I think thinking about the younger client, like you said, just getting started. I think TFSA is the best. It's just ultimate flexibility for you because of the withdrawal, rules around it, or lack of rules, really. You have to be careful sometimes though if your TFSA gets too big. I guess that's a different problem, but I would say start there. And if you, like I said, if you're lucky enough to have an employer that matches anything, definitely take advantage of that because they just deduct it from your paycheck. You won't even really see it. It comes off the top line, right? So you actually pay a little bit of taxes up front, which is also nice. So it's not a dollar for dollar hit on your paycheck. Any matching there, and yeah, I think take advantage of any of the programs that are available to you. Home buyers plan, first home savings, if that's important to you. If you did want to talk to me about, and you're a younger person thinking about buying a home, I think, renting versus owning, we can do some math around that to help you and just figure out some time horizon for you and how to think about that. But yeah, I think for the younger person, TFSA, if you're a person, approaching retirement or thinking about retirement, come talk to us, sooner rather than later. I think financial projections are very, very important, just mapping out your cash flows. I was talking to a client today and, she's talking about her pension options and, we can help kind of walk you through that and sit down with you, and we can even call the pension department with you and figure out the best options for you.
Okay. More question. How about parents and grandparents trying to help out the kids? I guess what is the best account to kind of start with for that kind of cohort?
Yeah, I think some of that has to do with what do you want as a grandparent, right? What do you want to support? Because if you really believe in higher education, you can start with the RESP. If you're really someone who wants them to have their first home savings, if they're of age 18 plus. If you just want them to get saving and started, TFSA, right? So I think it's really dependent on you. Also, of course, get input from your grandkid and see what their goals are and see how you can support them.
Perfect. Well, Ryan, appreciate the insights. Everybody, thank you for attending the call today. And as always, please do reach out to us if you have any questions on how best to take advantage of registered accounts. We are here to help you make sense of it all. I know there was lots of details and limits and with these accounts, so please do call the expert, Ryan, and he can answer your questions. And with
Have a great
that,
day.